The year 1992 brought the world a melody that would become as haunting as the story it told. Richard Marx's Hazard not only climbed the charts, but also planted a seed of mystery into the minds of its listeners. At its core, the song narrates the tale of Mary, a woman from the small town of Hazard, whose disappearance under mysterious circumstances left the town and its inhabitants engulfed in a cloud of suspicion and fear. This story reopens the case of Mary, exploring old evidence and new revelations that challenge everything we thought we knew about her fate. In the quiet whispers of Hazard, where the river runs a chilling course, the story of Mary continues to unravel, pulling us into its depths with relentless intrigue. Hazard, a name that evokes images of tranquility tainted by tragedy, is a small town carved into the vast landscapes of Nebraska. Known for its close-knit community and peaceful living, Hazard's identity was forever altered one fateful night. The people of Hazard, once friendly and outgoing, found themselves thrust into the harsh glare of national attention, their lives dissected by the public and media alike, all spurred by the mysterious disappearance of one of their own, Mary. As the town grappled with this tragedy, the bonds that once held the community together began to show signs of strain, with suspicion casting a long shadow over friendships and family ties. The evening of Mary's disappearance was like any other in Hazard until it wasn't. Mary, known for her quiet demeanour and kind eyes, had last been seen walking near the river's edge, an area that would later become the focal point of the investigation. Eyewitnesses recall seeing her in a heated conversation with Richard, her longtime friend, and according to some, a secret lover. This was the last time anyone claimed to have seen Mary before she vanished into the cold night. Local authorities were quick to organise search parties, combing through the dense foliage and murky waters, while overhead the night sky bore silent witness to the unfolding drama. Yet despite their efforts, the only trace of Mary was a solitary piece of her clothing snagged on a bramble, as if reaching out for salvation. A suspect emerges, Richard. In the days following Mary's disappearance, the eyes of Hazard, and soon those of the nation, turned towards Richard. Known to the community as a loner with a troubled past, Richard's close association with Mary made him a prime suspect in the eyes of many. The police interrogation was intense, focusing on his last interactions with Mary. Richard maintained his innocence, claiming their last conversation was benign, centered on mundane affairs of the heart. However, his alibi for the night Mary vanished was shaky at best, further fueling the town's suspicions. Amidst the whirlwind of accusations, Richard found himself isolated, the weight of the town's judgment as oppressive as the thick, humid air of a Nebraska summer. The investigation clues and dead ends. The initial stages of the investigation into Mary's disappearance were fraught with urgency, but yielded little tangible evidence. The river, a silent witness to many a secret, offered no clues. Its murky depths searched repeatedly to no avail. Shoe prints near the site where Mary was last seen suggested the presence of another, yet they were washed away by a sudden storm, taking with them any hopes of a breakthrough. Detectives pored over hours of interviews and countless leads, each proving as fruitless as the last. The lack of physical evidence and the growing pressure from the media and public began to take its toll on the investigative team, casting a pall of frustration and despair over the proceedings. The song that told a story. Mother came to Hazard when I was just 7. These opening lyrics of Marx's song encapsulate the essence of a narrative that gripped listeners worldwide. Through its verses, Hazard paints a vivid picture of Richard's life, his complex relationship with Mary, and the oppressive suspicion that encased him following her disappearance. The song's haunting refrain, where Richard insists, "I swear I left her by the river," became a line that resonated with many, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. As the song echoed through radio waves and television sets, it not only entertained but also invited listeners to dissect its lyrics, searching for clues or hidden meanings that might reveal the true story behind Mary's disappearance. The disappearance of Mary was not just a local tragedy, but a national spectacle, amplified by the media's relentless coverage. News trucks and reporters descended on Hazard, their cameras and questions invasive, their headlines often speculative and sensational. Was Richard a heartbroken lover or a cold-blooded killer? One headline read, encapsulating the court of public opinion that was quickly building against him. This media frenzy not only shaped the narrative, but also the investigation, with law enforcement under immense pressure to solve the case. For the people of Hazard, this meant living under a microscope, their every move and word scrutinized and interpreted through the lens of this tragedy. In the years that followed Mary's disappearance, Hazard was never the same. The seeds of doubt and suspicion sown by the tragedy sprouted weeds that choked the once vibrant community spirit. Local businesses saw a decline as the town's notoriety drove visitors away, while families who had lived in Hazard for generations began to look elsewhere, hoping to escape the shadow of the unsolved mystery. However, some residents clung to the hope that Mary might still be found, their loyalty to her memory a flicker of resistance against the dark cloud that had descended upon their town. "15 years after Mary's disappearance, a photograph surfaced that would reignite the smouldering embers of the case. The image, taken in a bustling market in Lebanon, showed a woman with a striking resemblance to Mary, her features older but unmistakably similar. The photograph, shared across social media and news outlets, sent shockwaves through Hazard and beyond. Skepticism and hope clashed as experts and amateurs alike analysed the photo, comparing it to old pictures of Mary. Was it possible that she had been alive all these years? And if so, why had she fled, leaving her old life and Richard to face the consequences? The potential sighting of Mary in Lebanon prompted law enforcement to reopen the case. With advancements in technology and new international cooperation, detectives were hopeful that they could unravel the mystery that had baffled them for years. This renewed investigation focused not only on validating the authenticity of the photograph, but also on tracing Mary's movements post-disappearance. Interpol was engaged, and a team of detectives was dispatched to Lebanon. Their mission clear yet daunting: find Mary and uncover the truth behind her sudden vanishing. As the investigation continued, various theories and conspiracies bubbled to the surface. Some suggested that Mary had staged her own disappearance, overwhelmed by a secret life that involved criminal activities. Others believed she had been part of a witness protection program, her disappearance a necessary act to safeguard her from a dangerous past. Among the more outlandish theories was the notion that Mary had been abducted by a cult, her sighting in Lebanon a rare escape from her captors. These theories, while speculative, fueled the fire of the investigation, each possibility leading down a rabbit hole of intrigue and mystery. With the emergence of new evidence suggesting Mary might still be alive, public perception of Richard began to shift. Once vilified and shunned, he found himself the subject of sympathy and speculation. Was it possible that he had been a victim as well? Richard, older and marked by the years of suspicion and isolation, continued to maintain his innocence. This twist in the tale offered him a glimmer of hope, not just for vindication, but for a new start, free from the burden of suspicion that had hounded him for over a decade. The resurgence of Mary's case and the possibility of her being alive brought a complex mix of emotions to the surface for the people of Hazard. Relief, confusion, and a rekindling of old fears stirred within the community as they grappled with the implications of the recent developments. Psychologists and sociologists descended on the town. Their studies focused on the impact of long-term unresolved mysteries on small communities. The findings were telling, revealing deep psychological scars that affected not just individuals, but the collective psyche of Hazard. The legal ramifications of Mary's potential reappearance were extensive. If she were found alive, the implications for the initial investigation, the handling of evidence, and the treatment of Richard would be scrutinized. Legal experts debated the possible outcomes, discussing scenarios that ranged from retraction of old judgments to the implementation of new charges against those involved in her disappearance. This legal debate played out in the public eye, adding another layer of complexity to an already convoluted case and raising questions about the efficacy and integrity of the initial investigation. Investigative leads suggested that Mary had built a new life in Lebanon, far removed from the quiet streets of Hazard. Interviews with locals revealed a woman who was active in her community, involved in local charities, and apparently living a life of modest anonymity. How had Mary managed to elude detection for so many years? The puzzle pieces of her new identity were slowly being put together, each revealing a facet of a woman who had reinvented herself far from the world that thought her dead. The stark contrast between the rural American setting of Hazard and the vibrant, chaotic energy of Lebanon provided a backdrop that was as intriguing as the mystery itself. Mary's adaptation to such a different culture highlighted her resilience and desire for a fresh start. This part of the investigation not only shed light on Mary's new life, but also on the cultural dynamics that she had navigated and adapted to, illustrating her journey from a small-town girl to a citizen of the world. Despite the new leads and the renewed fervour of the investigation, many questions remained unanswered. What had driven Mary to leave? Who, if anyone, had helped her? And what did this mean for Richard and the town of Hazard? These unanswered questions continued to fuel speculation and research as both professional detectives and amateur sleuths alike sought to uncover the full story. The mystery of Mary was far from over. It had merely evolved into a new chapter, as enigmatic as the first. As this narrative unfolds, the story of Mary remains an enduring mystery, its chapters filled with twists and turns that challenge our understanding of truth and justice. Hazard, forever changed, continues to wrestle with its shadowed past, its future intertwined with the resolution of this long-standing enigma. This tale, a blend of fact and fiction, personal tragedy and public spectacle, invites us to reflect on the complexities of human nature and the profound impact of unresolved mysteries on a community and its individuals. Decades later, Richard Marx's Hazard continues to resonate, its melancholy notes a haunting reminder of Mary's story. The song has become a cultural touchstone, a means of connection for those who remember and those who discover the tale anew. It serves as a poignant reflection of the power of music to encapsulate human emotion and mystery, keeping the story of Mary alive in the hearts and minds of listeners around the world. As the final notes fade, the river at Hazard whispers its secrets, holding fast to the truth of what happened to Mary, a melody of mystery that plays on, eternal and unresolved. In a rare and startling interview decades later, Mary finally broke her silence about the night she vanished from Hazard. Speaking from her home in Lebanon, she revealed a chilling truth that had eluded everyone for so long. "I was terrified of Richard," she confessed, her voice trembling with the weight of years past. He threatened to kill me if I ever left him for another man. I had no choice but to escape. Mary recounted how she found a boat docked at the River of Hazard, its crew preparing for a journey around the world. Desperate and with no other options, she boarded that boat, leaving behind the town and the life she once knew. The boat's voyage eventually led her to Lebanon, where she started anew, far from the haunting shadows of her past. This revelation added a new layer to the enduring mystery, casting Richard in a different light and providing a glimpse into the fear and desperation that drove Mary to flee. Yet even this disclosure leaves us with more questions than answers, as the whispers of Hazard's River continue to echo the unresolved secrets of that fateful night. As we reflect on Mary's words, we are reminded that the truths we seek are often more complex and heartbreaking than we can imagine. The story of Hazard and the haunting melody of its river lives on, forever entwined with the lives it touched and the mysteries it holds.